everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Whole Lotta Bogeys interview series. Today, we have another great guest on. We have a awesome club company. It's going to be Haywood Golf. We have the founder, Joshua Haywood, on today to talk to you guys, teach you a little bit more about the brand, kind of get into some of the specifics, and also a little bit of insight into some upcoming products that might be coming out. But Josh, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself to the people and start off there.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. Really excited to chat all things golf, and we're a smaller, I guess we're considered an OEM now, but we're a direct to consumer brand out of Vancouver, Canada. So we focus on high quality, high performing, custom built irons, wedges, putters, driving irons, soon to be woods, and really just making sure that we provide the highest quality and best value products out there for all of our customers.
Yeah, the designs too. I mean, the simplicity with the Haywood on the back of the club and the angles and everything. They're gorgeous.
Plays it nicely. Yeah, I was gonna say I love the design of the club on the back. The logo just looks like it's made to be right on a club. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
Sure.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, we spend a lot of time and when we discuss our designs and what we want to do, and really what we aim for is like a timeless aesthetic, because a lot of brands, as brand the shit out of their clubs. And
Sure.
one year something will look cool, but in like a year or two, it doesn't necessarily look cool or go with the kind of the style and the way that golf has continued to grow in terms of like what people want to see. Like this year, the new Callaway Paradigm is cool because it's got blue carbon, but in 2 years from now, it might be like out of fashion. And so
Right, sure.
one of the things for us is, especially because clubs are so expensive these days, that, with ours being more affordable, but also knowing the longevity of our clubs because they're high quality, we expect people to have our irons in their bag for a number of years, and we want them to feel the same way 5 years from now as they did the day they bought them, in terms of like, man, those irons are unreal. They look sick, and that's kind of what we go for with all of the products we create.
Yeah, definitely get the whole timeless thing as soon as you look at it, for sure. Not something that's going to go out of style. Yeah.
I think another thing that's awesome about you guys too is just how much you guys do cater to the customer when you're going through the configuration of your set.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cool things I liked a lot was the cavity back, muscle back combo sets that you offer, and you can get like the more bladed iron in 7 through P wedge, or you can get it through 8 through P wedge, and it kind of just lets you dial in exactly where you want more or less forgiveness and to get that thinner top line when you're looking down at the club. But it's just cool.
Yeah, love that option.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty great to be able to provide the options that we do. So if you actually look through, obviously you guys have, but for people listening, when you look through our product offerings in terms of shafts, grips, combos, etc., like we have one of the best selections out there. We have at least 7 different options for stock shafts with our irons, like 4 or 5, I think, with our wedges now. So, when you look at, go to PXG, for example, there it's like you get 1 or 2 shafts tops, and then anything else is upcharge. And so obviously we have upcharge options, but being able to say like, hey, we have the whole dynamic gold line outside of Tour Issue as our stock offering, like those are things that you don't get with a lot of brands. And so we try to provide the most value that we can to our customers, and obviously the most options that they don't have to increase their set cost for is what we go for.
That's awesome. Yeah. Love the customization. I mean, we might be skipping ahead a little bit, but the oil stained wedges, I was going to say, when we're talking about the customization factor, those are amazing. I would love to hear about the process of how you go about making those, and kind of how you started making those, because it's something I've never seen
Canadian
before.
nitride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of different custom work ever since we started, because it's always been appealing to me personally. My fiance Haley as well, she's like, very in tune with like unique offerings in terms of, like, she's a big sneakerhead. She has a crazy amount of sneakers. Just being able to see like super cool, I guess, finishes in terms of golf clubs is kind of where we wanted to head. And so like the first initial that we did, way back, like it was probably 3 years ago now, was like a 24 karat gold set of signature irons.
Yeah.
And so like we got them manufactured overseas at the factory that we deal with, and then brought them over here and got them 24 karat plated, and sold a bunch of sets of those, and like super unique. And then started just playing around with different finishes with Cerakote, with copper. There's a company in Vancouver called Blacked Out Golf, so they do a bunch of finishings, and then that's where they came up with like the Canadian nitride thing. It's probably one of the longest lasting black finishes that you'll ever come across. It's kind of like ingrained into the steel. It's really cool because he takes our raw wedges, heats them up quite hot, and then allows the black to actually like ingrain into the metal. So
wow,
those are cool. And then the oil ones that you're talking about, I think you're talking about like the copper torched ones, actually. The really colorful ones. Yeah. So we get all of our like copper stuff done here in Canada as well. So it costs definitely a bit more than, what if we got it done overseas, but the quality is definitely better. And yeah, I think it was like, so Chris, who used to build clubs for us and still does a lot of our customization stuff. He's at Razor Golf on Instagram, like RZR Golf, I think. RAR. Anyway, he's a great guy, and wouldn't be here without him. But he does a lot of like custom engraving, and so one day we got some copper wedges in, and he's like, "Hey, can I try something?" And we're like, "Yeah, go ahead." And so we just started torching it, and the first like set of copper wedges was created, and we're like, "Holy shit, that's insane!" And one of the things that we realized about torching copper as well is that every club is like an individual. It's a unique club. You can never replicate it. It's very much like a fingerprint. So each wedge is unique to that particular, like, it's a one of a kind. And so Haley actually does a lot of the torching for us now. She's an artist in terms of when I like always over torch things, and like, never is great, but she's got it down pat. And so yeah, we just kind of play around with a bunch of different stuff, and whatever turns out to look cool. We've done some pink wedges, some yellow ones, some engraving for a lot of different brands. So yeah, it's kind of just fun to play with.
It's awesome seeing all the different finishes with the wedges, and I mean, seeing you offer the copper finish even on the driving iron too. That's super clean, and it kind of can just add that flair if you have the silver irons in the bag, maybe the black wedges, and then finish it off with the copper driving iron. I mean, that's a clean set right there. That's sweet.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Yeah.
Back to the Canadian nitride, like what you're talking about, it's really cool to hear how it's kind of integrated into the steel and prevents that wear mark from coming. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. Anyone who's ever had like black or any colored wedge, like you just start to see that wear pattern from where you're striking it, even from where your mishits are happening. Just, you don't want to see that, and it's cool to see that somebody's fixing that problem or at least working on it. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that process. Like someone, I wouldn't even think something like that's possible. Heat it up so much that it integrates into the steel. It's really cool to hear.
Yeah, no, they do a great job, and again, it's great that we're able to support another Canadian business to do those for us. And so last time we did a few hundred heads, and getting pretty close to doing them, another batch of them again. So yeah, no, it's always fun. And yeah,
being on the West Coast and in Canada, what's golf like up there too?
it's great. I'm a fair weather golfer myself, so pretty much between October and March, I do not play golf outside. So we have a few simulator kind of bars here in the Lower Mainland, so we go to those, and then obviously we have a simulator in our shop. So don't get to use it as much, but it's pretty wet here in Vancouver through the winter. But in the summertime, it's honestly one of the nicest places in the world to play golf.
Seeing pictures, it looked crazy.
So you can only imagine.
It's on the list of places that we got to get out to get around in. But I mean, being in Buffalo, we have no golf in the winter months. I mean, early spring, late fall, it doesn't happen. But ironically enough, today I saw on my phone, I was scrolling through Instagram, one of our local courses is actually opening up this Wednesday for just the day, walking only, one flat rate, 9 holes or 18. You get to pick.
Cool.
And it's crazy. I mean, golfing in the middle of February in Buffalo is probably never happened. So.
Yeah, I think you said you were one of the first people to call to get it.
I was the first person to call because I saw the post within the first minute that it was posted. So I was like,
so we're excited. We're gonna be in on the course a lot earlier than we expected.
Yeah, which is
that's exciting.
Cool. How's the weather been out there for you? Any has it broke at all or no? Any signs of spring yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, we have nice days all throughout the winter, and
yeah,
it's probably one of the only climates definitely in Canada that you can play all year round. But even like West Coast United States, like, you get down into Washington, very similar. And we all have on the West Coast, we have a ton of crazy nice courses. And, again, if you're fine playing in, what Fahrenheit is 45 to 55 degrees and a
Yeah.
little bit of rain, you can play anytime you want here. So, yeah, you guys definitely come out and check it out. I mean, there's just so many beautiful tracks out here that it's kind of hard to pinpoint, but per capita, like I don't even know that you could beat how many golf courses we have, and the quality of them as well. Even our public tracks here are phenomenal. Like you could put up a gate and a bunch of nice trees all around the public course
Convince
here,
everybody.
and it
Right.
would be private instantly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah, I've heard, I don't know where I saw it recently, but Canada has like the most golf courses per capita, like you were saying, like a bunch of different cities in Canada. Golf is, a lot bigger than people think, for sure. Out
Yeah,
there.
it's a huge sport, especially over the last couple of years. We've seen it grow significantly, even in our sales. Seeing our Canadian sales skyrocket over the last year and a half. Just people becoming more aware of us, but also just because the sport has grown so quickly up here. COVID was like a real catapult for all over the world, but I feel like Canada specifically, because especially Vancouver being year round, COVID hit kind of like March. Excuse me. And people were trying to find things to do, and it was like, I can go golf. And all of a sudden, March, April, May of a couple of years ago, and they just want you, as you guys know, as soon as you're addicted to golf, it's
over.
Can't
Once
stop,
that
it's over.
It's over. Yeah.
It's over. Yeah, exactly.
There's no turning back. That's for sure. I mean,
Definitely.
for better or worse, I mean, there's probably worse things you could spend your money and spend your time doing, for that matter. But
Yeah, definitely.
getting into the Haywood woods and drivers and all that stuff that you were talking about earlier with us, what was testing like with that? And is there anything that you're really excited about after seeing the testing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a process for sure. So we've been dealing with the production of prototypes and testing for the last couple of years.
Wow.
For us, it was very important, being our first iteration of a woods and hybrid line, that we get it right. And so there's so many different aspects of designing woods in comparison to irons that you have to learn, and not only learn myself, but take advice from the engineers that we work with, who we work with a lot of engineers who have built hundreds of golf clubs for all the OEMs, and take their feedback on what they know, and take the feedback of like what I like, because a lot of obviously the design influence is based on what I want to see myself. And so just going through that process, getting prototype after prototype made, testing them for feel, sound, performance, like all of the different factors all have to hit all at once to make that one head that's going to perform and look good and feel good, to the matching what the current model of OEM. So when we started 2 years ago, the drivers out there have improved a little bit, not a ton. And so even like up until November this year, when we put them on the robot, that was like the final, like, okay, we're good to go. But we made changes up until October of this past year, so 2022, so like 4 or 5 months ago. It's something that definitely didn't think we'd be at this stage. We're not even 5 years old as a company yet, and so to be here is great. And we
Gotta
just
be getting really close, though.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, like we're getting up to 5 years here in May, and so for us to be able to be at this stage of as a company, especially in the golf space, is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so for us too, we look at it as we have one chance to prove to everybody out there that we can actually manufacture woods. So we're not getting it wrong.
Right.
I'll just tell you that, right? We're not going to release a product unless we're like, we can perform as good as the other brands out there. We're going to be more affordable, have lots of options. Like that was the main factor. So we didn't stop until we got to that point. And now we can, I don't know if you guys saw the recent video, and we shared a little bit of the data, but on average, out of all of the shots hit, so what we did on the robot, which people can see on our Instagram, is we brought all the clubs down to the golf robot down in San Diego. What it did is it hit it on each club on 3 different points of the face. So 3/4 heel, center hit, 3/4 toe. And so what that allowed us to see is how it performs on all strikes. So if you hit it off the toe, hit it off the heel, what the dispersion looks like, distance loss, all of those kind of things. And so on average, all of the strikes were, what was it? It's like total distance was within like 0.7 yards. Dispersion was all within a yard. Like the drivers that we test against, which were the Titleist TSR2 and the TaylorMade Stealth, were all within like a yard of each other. It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
on
is
average.
Yeah.
Again, some of the, like on the toe hit, I think we beat distance wise, we beat them, but then on the heel hit, we lost by a couple yards. And so, at the end of the day, you have to really look at it, in which a lot of our customers do, is like, am I willing to lose a yard for a $200 savings? Sure, because if you
100%.
mishit the stealth on the heel or the toe, you're going to lose that anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the kind of all the factors that we looked at. And we kind of looked at it and said, if we could be within 2.5 yards to 3 yards of the competitors. So sorry.
No worries.
We did well. If we could be even closer, then we exceeded our goals. And, based on the testing results that we got from that testing robot, we were inside of that. So we're really excited for it. Really pumped to be able to sell them. I mean, it's going to be a crazy few days once we launch, to see all the pre-sales come in and, get them out to people's bags in April. And, yeah, just pumped for it, but a lot of work to get them launched. So we're working through that last minute detail now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get them out right in time for golf season, right in people's bags.
100%.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome hearing you talk about it, just how it stacks up against all the big OEM brands and all that stuff.
Exactly.
It's awesome because most people, I don't think, are even going to notice whether they lose a yard off the heel strike and all that. So saving $200 and getting a clean, solid driver for you just can't beat that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was just about to say. That's seems like amazing value. And you said 2 to 3 years of development. You know what I mean? That's just another thing that is almost comforting to hear as a consumer. You know what I mean? You put, like you said, all of you into this. You know what I mean? You said you can't come out. You're not getting it wrong. So that's all.
Yeah, not rushing anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, any product we make, we thoroughly test, and it has to perform just as well or better than anything else, in the same market category of club. And so, that for us is why everything takes a little bit longer. We don't have the, dozens of staff and millions of dollars to sink into every single thing. And so it takes us longer to release products than it does for the OEMs, because obviously we see them release clubs every year.
Right, for sure. What other models other than just a standard driver will you be offering with the woods that you're bringing out?
Yeah, so we're doing, so all of our woods have adjustable hosels, and so we're releasing a 9-degree driver, which obviously allows you to go from tone it down to 7.5 up to 10.5. And then we have a 15-degree 3-wood, and again, same thing, 1.5 either way. And then we have a 22-degree hybrid. And so what we kind of looked at is like, these are the first models, like, will we make another driver in a year or two that, focuses on a different category of player? Probably. Will we do different degree? Will we create a 5-wood? Probably at some point. It's more of a matter of like, see how the demand goes for these initial products, and then base that on our future product mapping. And two, like, it kind of hits all of the gaps because of the adjustable hosel. It kind of allows everybody to say like, cool, my 5-wood's actually 17 degrees. Well, I can get to 16.5. It's pretty close. And same with the hybrid. We have the driving iron at 18. So it kind of just fits in there. Like I laughed the other day because I carry a driving iron and our hybrid, and they're very different clubs for me, right? Like one is designed to fly off the, if I need to run something up like 275 into the green, great. I can't hit my hybrid 275, but I can hit my driving iron that far. And so like, it just really depends. And I find that like, even though there's a difference of 4 degrees, the flight path and launch and all of those things are so different that I can carry both, and they they excel well. And so that's what we kind of always look at, is like, how can we combo all of our clubs together to make a player's bag, fully functional.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Fill in the gaps, like you said. Yeah, almost perfectly.
For sure. It's just a bunch of puzzle pieces in the bag that are kind of helping fit those gaps and push everything together and make sure that you can fit together a good round. So that's cool to hear for sure. The putter too, the signature putter. Love the blade design. Really
Thank you.
classics. Nothing. There's really, when you get a putter like that, I feel like you know exactly what you're getting into. It's gonna. I like the style of it, the classic, like almost answers like shape. What was it like testing that?
Yeah, but that putter we've had for, I mean, that's a very timeless putter, because
Exactly.
Scotty's had it, Ping's had it for however long. And again, it was just making something that looked good, felt really good. Like so Scotty camera, for example, uses stainless steel 303, which is a bit harder of a material. And so what we decided to do was make it a bit of softer feeling putter. So we used 1020 carbon, played it. And so it's got a softer feel than like a Scotty. And it putts really, really well. Like I love it. And so one of the things we're working on for 2023 is to come up with a few more options in the putter category. So we're, at the same time we release the woods, we'll be releasing our mid mallet putter.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Which is very similar to like a Scotty Delmar in terms of like style of shape.
Okay.
And one of the unique factors that we're doing with that is we're offering 3 different sightline options.
Getting back into that configuration options, playing to the player. That's awesome.
100%.
Because we got so much feedback from people. It's like, oh, I really want a dot. I really want a single line on the top edge. I really want just like the back straight line. And so we're like, let's make them all and see, again, for us, it's fun because it provides more options for our customers, but then it also allows us to see like, all the people that said they wanted a single top line, we only sold, 20 of them. And then the dots, they sold out. We sold 100 and something. And so it really allows us to see too what the majority of the market or our customer base wants. And then we can kind of figure it out from there as well. And especially with future iterations of different styles of putter, we can figure out, because sightline's just preference. It's, it's really just what people like to see visually. And so if we can accommodate more people that way, then we will.
That's so important. I feel like the whole visual, like what you see down when you're looking at the club, working into the customization aspects that you guys offer, it's really important to like a golfer. You know what I mean? What you're looking down at, if you feel comfortable, if you're liking what you see, and as opposed to not being comfortable, or like you said, something as small as a sight line, it's super important. So I think it's great that you guys offer customization like that.
Yeah. Again, it's, as long as we can, do what's best for our customer base, then we will continue to do so.
Right, for sure.
Do you ever see adding in more putter head finishes?
It's a little trickier.
For sure.
Especially too, because just in terms of like a quantity volume, a lot of the things that we do, especially like in copper. So if we offered like a copper putter, for example, it would sell out. If we made like 30 of them, they would be gone. And so then it's like, well, how many more do you make, and how do you plan for that? And so it's a lot more difficult in my opinion, to do different putter finishes, because they're much more expensive to make. Like the putters, they're fully milled. So it's not like they're just forged and then milled. It's like they're fully milled. They're one of our most expensive pieces outside of our Haywood 100s to make. And so like the cost differential for them as well is a factor. And so, if we have some customers who say, excuse me, if we have enough people who say, hey, we really want black nitride in this putter, cool. We really want, copper, we really want this. Then what we do for all of our customer requests is like, if we can't achieve something right away, we'll say, hey, we'll put this into a list. We have a folder of all the different requests that people make. And then once we get to a certain point for each request, so whether it's 25 units, 50 units, 100, whatever we decide on for that particular product, then we say, okay, that's enough people that are like, we're going to do that. So even if we sell 25% of that list, it's still worthwhile making that production run. And so then that's kind of how we base it. And so it was the same with our Haywood 100s, which are 100% milled from a block. We had enough people on that list where we're like, okay, let's do another production run. And so we did a small production run, and they're almost pretty much sold out. So it's that's kind of how we gauge our business.
Yeah, you're really in tune with your customer base. Actually listening to what they want, and like you said, if it hits that number, you're actually going to do it. You know what I mean? That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Having those folders too, and keeping track of everything that people request has to be one of the coolest ways to really see what is worth doing if you're going to have like these different considerations of, oh, should we try and make the putter in a copper, or should we try and do this new blue color, for example? But if people aren't asking for it, is it worth the time and the effort and all the trials and tribulations that go along with it?
I was gonna say, I feel like it's an accurate way to make like a smart business move. You know what I mean? On which one to, actually put into production. That's awesome. Yeah.
Makes the people feel good too if they ask and then they get.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Like I said, so very in tune with your customer base, which, you're not going to get from, like we send a request into Titleist, they're not going to listen.
They don't put it in a folder.
They don't put it in a folder. It goes in the spam folder. Yeah.
Exactly.
Fair, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's, and those companies are now so big that obviously it's very difficult to do. But I think for us too, because customer service is so important, it's like that's part of the customer service factor. Is I can never say that I'm never going to make a product that they ask for, because I don't know, maybe it'll be, somebody asks for something insane, then all of a sudden 20 more people ask for it.
Right.
Cool. And we do a lot of our polls on Instagram and Facebook, and really just kind of ask people what they think of certain finishes or certain aspects of a product, and we take that feedback into consideration for most of our products.
Yeah, awesome to hear.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, getting kind of maybe talking a little more about your personal golf game. What's in the bag? I'd like to hear, obviously, from the club manufacturer. I'd like to hear what he's playing for sure.
Well, now I can proudly say that I have all Haywood clubs in my bag.
Yep.
Have for a few months now, but driver 3 hybrid, of course, and then I have a combo set of some black nitride irons, so 4 through 7 in CB and 8 through pitching wedge and MB, and then some black nitride wedges, driving iron, and a blade putter because I still like the blade.
Yep. I think I was gonna say we're both rocking the blades. Yep. I was gonna say, so what we're comfortable with.
What's the finish on that driving iron? Did you get the copper or did you roll with the original?
I didn't. No, I've had that driving iron for probably almost 2 years now, and I always laugh with people. They're like, oh, it must be awesome. You just have all these clubs, you can interchange them, and I'm like, yeah, but every time I do that, it costs me money. So I kind of look at it as like, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have access to it, but if it's not broken, I'm probably not changing. Like I think I said this on another podcast, but I'm pretty sure this is only my second set of irons of ours that I've put in. Actually, that's a lot, maybe third. I think I did a signature set, an old MB set, and now this set, but in 5 years, that's not a ton. And so to me, like the driving iron is perfect. It's bent exactly how I want it. I like the way that it looks. Everything is good. And so, and if it breaks, exactly. Yeah. If it breaks, then, I might look at the copper, but, again, for me, this is a business, and I really want to make sure that too, like, I remember one time I took some wedges out, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, that was our last one. Oh shit. And then it was like waiting for more. And I was like, like, you just can't have that kind of stuff happen. And so luckily now we have tons of inventory, but especially throughout the pandemic when things were a little dicey, it was just, very cautious of what you were doing because you never know when your next shipment was going to come in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now not so much, but back then, yeah, it was a little dicey.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
What ball are you using right now?
I'm not a specific golf ball user.
Okay.
I generally do tend to stick to lower spinning golf balls though. So last year we had, I don't even know how many, like 40 or 50 dozen Vice Pro Plus golf balls made up with our logo and giveaways and stuff like that. And so I took a few packs for myself, and I really enjoy them. They are lower spinning, so from a driver standpoint, they're great. From wedge standpoint, I still spin it a crazy ton, and so it allows me to have a little bit better distance control. And so hitting lower spinning is a little bit better for me.
I feel like, yeah, a lot of people we talk to do have a specific ball that they do like, but the one thing is, like, I feel like everybody at least has like a category that they tend to fall in, like a lower spinning ball or something like that. And I feel like
Specific things they're looking for.
yeah, in a ball.
Yeah.
And that's really important to kind of at least keep consistent in your game. You know what I mean? You kind of have that, you know, take it out of your head at least that's going to be, you know, stay consistent. Definitely important.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps if you're, taking it seriously. Like if I'm playing for money, I'll probably keep the same ball in. But like if I'm just playing with buddies,
sure.
I don't, I'm not a good enough golfer. I'm a decent golfer, but I'm not good enough that it's going to really affect my game that much. So
I think that's a big thing too with when it comes to the golf ball itself is you can almost use it as a handicap, or you can use it as like to your advantage when in the sense of if you have the good ball and your game's on, it's going to be great. But if you don't have the ball you want and your game's not on, now no matter what, it's in your head that ball is the problem. And it could be your swing, you're opening up your wrist, whatever it is that you're doing that's actually causing the issue. But in your head, it's the ball. So I think it's good to be open to just really playing anything and not getting fixated on one.
Yeah.
But you can have benefits, like you're saying, from just at least having a category of a ball that you like and sticking to that.
And like I feel like it's all, like you said, kind of how you think about it, and it works differently for different people. You know what I mean? For sure. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I also too like refuse to go buy Pro V1s because I am somebody who loses enough golf balls that it's not it's not a value for me. So and two, like we do a lot of testing with different golf balls in our fittings and simulators because golf balls make a significant difference in terms of
100%.
performance. Like a lot of people think, they're just golf balls, but like if you test like a Kirkland, which is similar to a Pro V, I can't remember. Pro V just switched over there, so whatever their higher spinning one is now, versus like a Vice Pro Plus on a 7-iron, you can drop that spin rate by like 600 to 1,000 depending on the player. And so it changes the dynamic of the fitting for that player. And so that's why we have a bunch of different balls, in our fitting for our customers, because we want to see like, hey, like you're spinning the ball way too high. Let's see if we can drop it down, affect all of the different factors that go into fitting. But and I think price point's huge too, because we all lose so many of them that it's insane.
Sure.
Yeah, it's that one extra, like you lost the ball, it's a bad shot, but then it's like, oh, that was $350. You know what I mean? That was $5.
It adds up throughout the round if you're not playing to up to expectations.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
it's
like
definitely something to keep in mind. The cost of the ball,
right?
Like I played last week in Scottsdale at Greyhawk, and nice track and decently kind of open, and I was like nailing my driver, but because we were playing in a tournament and the tees were for closer than I'm used to, I didn't really know where to go. And so every drive I hit, I was like, oh, that's perfect. All of a sudden it's like it's in the desert.
Yeah, perfect from those back tees.
I lost. Luckily it was a scramble, so like it didn't matter, but I lost at least 12 golf balls. So like if I paid $70 for 65 or whatever for a dozen Pro Vs, I'd be a little more pissed off than the $30 I spent on the Vice Pro Pluses.
Makes you feel a little better hitting good shots, at least. You know what I mean? It's striping it through the fairway.
Yeah. You still lose them, so you still feel like crap, but it's
silver lining.
Yeah, silver lining, right?
Yeah.
Talking about golf balls too, and seeing DTC companies like PXG just release a golf ball. Do you ever see yourself possibly getting into the golf ball market, or is it something that might be so far down the road you haven't really considered?
Definitely considered it. We spent a year going through a bunch of different factories, testing out a bunch of golf balls, and honestly, like it was just, it's such a process that we were like, no, we're going to focus on golf clubs, and this is our focus. And in due time, I'm sure that we might look at it. The golf ball market is so saturated now, though, that to be able to be successful in selling golf balls, you really have to put a lot of money behind it. And I'm not sure that it really makes sense from a business standpoint for us to do so at this time or in the future. So it'll just depend kind of how things go. But there's so many great DTC brands. I mean, I haven't tried the new PXG ball. I'm assuming it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's $40 too. So at that price point, I'm looking for that
Expecting something
top
good,
of the line
right.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they'll probably be like, oh, it's $40, and then next week it's like $20, and then the week after it's 30. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever they decide to do. And again, they're not going to put out, PXG has good products. They're not going to put out anything that's like really shit. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's good, but you have Cut Golf who makes a decent ball. You have Vice who makes a decent ball. There's Clear Golf. There's so many different ones. It's just about actually getting them into your hands, because I think that if you gave a golf ball, Uncommon, which is another one we partnered with a couple years ago, nobody that I know knows about them, but I played their golf balls and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're more affordable, and so like I think it's more. And again, that's where I talked about the cost of acquisition of a customer. It's like how do you convince a customer to buy your golf ball if they've never heard of you?
Right.
And I think that's a lot harder to do than one would think. And so, it's just a very challenging aspect of the golf business for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
I can see it kind of being like a hard market to break into. Like you said, I feel like some people are like, so fixated on one golf
for
ball.
sure.
They played, the Pro V1 for 30 years. You know what I mean?
It's
Or
tough to
whatever
get
it is,
somebody
yeah.
to switch, especially on a
Yeah.
golf ball. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
I was gonna say, like, some people are like real stricklers about that, and they like to take out that variable, hitting the same ball every time, and it's what they're used to, and might. I don't know.
yeah. Even with just having like good memories with the ball, like, oh, I've holed out from 40 yards, or I had a good chip in from like green side at green 7 on
Yeah.
at Deerwood or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
you want to use that ball again because you think in your head that the past has to predict the future, right? So you're gonna
Right.
keep using it and keep using it, but the next
It's
thing you know, you
concept.
hole out with another ball and you realize you can switch.
Yeah,
But
right.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Definitely.
no, getting into like another side of the golf business,
Yeah.
the apparel. There's
Mhm.
there's one apparel item on your website that really stuck out to me and I liked. It was the fill your divots
Yeah.
hoodie with the circle. I thought it was just clever because obviously shape of a little ball mark or something that you would have to fix and then fill in your divots. It's a little play on words. And then you guys also offer the I think it was titled like the emblem sweats or something like that. Super clean look, something nice to wear to the driving range. So cool to see you guys integrate your way with the apparel and other accessories too that you guys have, which is super dope.
For sure.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many groundskeepers have actually bought that fill your divots hoodie. So
Oh,
that was something
100%.
Haley came up with, and
Yeah.
we've had a number of groundskeepers message being like, "This is sweet," and they buy one, and
That's
I
awesome.
just laughed because I was like, I didn't even think about that as a customer thing, and she obviously did, and so we're working on apparel stuff. It takes a long time because again, for us, same thing with the golf ball. It's like if we can't produce something that's as good of quality as what you're expecting from a top tier brand, then we're not going to. And we were talking about this the other day. I've probably had 50 different golf shirts created for us, and they just there's always something off with one of them. And so we're working with a good friend of mine now, who's starting his own line of apparel. He's made some really nice top tier golf shirts. And so what we're probably going to do is partner with him on like co-branding, and it's a Canadian based company as well. So we're probably going to look at doing a little bit more like that, and some 3/4 zips, and nothing like massive, just like really high quality, small batch, minimal offerings in terms of colors and finishes, but just like really good quality clothing.
Definitely. I could see that Haywood and the cursive right on the center patch. That would be amazing. Yeah.
100%.
I think that would be sweet.
So with the like other accessories too that you offer, I remember when I was scrolling through your website and I saw the blade head cover that you guys have. Just wondering, with the woods and the drivers, are you going to be going for that kind of similar aesthetic with the black and then the white piped writing, or what was your thought that you were going to do for the woods that are coming out?
Well, if you check out the last couple videos, those are the actual head covers.
Okay,
so if you go on Instagram and see the last couple of like teaser videos and stuff that we've released, we went with a very dark. It's just all black. It's got the Haywood signature all through the head cover, and it's just really clean looking. So it goes really well with the driver because the driver's completely blacked out as well. So we saw Taylor. Who was it? It was TaylorMade, I think. like a month and a half ago, released a special edition tailor-made head cover that was almost the exact same as our driver head cover, and I had to put something out so people didn't think we copied it, because we've had it, in the back of we've had it, built for the last 7-8 months.
Yeah.
And so we released it, and we're like, oh, somebody's special head cover is our normal head cover. And it's honestly, like, everybody who sees them just says, wow, like, those are cool. And so be able to offer that is just like our standard is great.
Yeah,
That is cool.
nice added touch for sure. Showing attention to detail and everything like that. It's important.
Yeah, it's also cool when your standard is somebody else's special,
Yeah, exactly.
Always
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool
Especially too when it's bigger brands. Like, I never knock products because, everybody has their own style, but there's so many of the OEM head covers where I'm like, oh, I would not put that on my bag. Like, it's, it's too much, or, it just doesn't look great. Especially this year, there's been a couple where I'm like, I don't know who designed that, but
Yeah,
I would have just skipped it. So, and again, everybody has their own personal style, which is why I don't knock it, because everybody's different. But again, timeless. Like, nobody's gonna look at that head cover in 3 years from now and be like, that's out of date. They're gonna be like, that's still a sick head cover.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome, because I feel like that's really speaks to all your products. They're all timeless. I mean, you could be gaming something like that now or 10 years from now, and it's still going to be in style,
Yeah.
pure class,
It'll look good in the bag. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's exciting.
Super dope.
Yeah, and as you touched on too, I mean, earlier, just kind of thought of it like, they're timeless, and you're going to be able to have them forever. You've in the 5 years, I think you said you had 2 or 3 sets, you know what I mean? And just like you were just trying different ones out, so they last a long time. They're obviously great quality, you know what I mean? So they're going to be timeless, and you can play them for that long as well.
Timeless and they last. So
Yes,
that's good.
exactly.
Very, very good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's every product that we make is, it's more affordable, but somebody's still spending $800 to $1,000 US, and like, it's still a good chunk of money. And so,
Sure.
we don't want to have anything that is like, in a year from now something breaks. Like, the amount of returns that we've, again, knock on wood, but the amount of returns that we've had for any type of breakage or anything is like insanely minimal, because everything is like actually put together by our team in our shop here. It's not mass manufactured overseas. The quality control just allows us to ensure that. And for the odd time that we do have an issue, it's almost always a shaft issue. So it's not actually us, but we still warranty it. So
Third party.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great that we can have that level of control over our products.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. That's great for sure.
So I saw you I remember not too long ago posting on the Instagram talking about like possibly signing ambassadors. Now, would you ever look into signing or working with like various tour pros and people of that nature as well to kind of showcase the brand? Or
yeah, I mean, it's something that we always consider. In the past couple of months, as I'm sure you've all seen, a lot of brands have signed a lot of different YouTube influencers or Instagram influencers, whatever the case is, and it's definitely a way to go. But for us, again, the challenge that you face as a growing brand, especially somebody who's focused on being more affordable, is the more that you do that, the more your costs go up. So then in turn, it's like, where do you cover that, right? And the only way to cover that is to increase your retail pricing, or I say retail pricing, but in our case, just our standard pricing. And so we take that very seriously. And so, like, if we were to go out and spend, 50 grand, 100 grand on influencers and professionals and whatever, it's like, we would have to figure out how to recoup that cost. And it's like, will that influencer create that much more in sales? Will they 3, 4, 5 times it? All of those factors come into play. And so we really haven't been able to say that like there's been a real add value for us in that term. We definitely do. Like, we have a few different pros on a few different tours that are testing our products right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
But again, we don't, we're not pushing it. It's more of just like organic conversations that happen. Hey, your stuff's really cool. We'd love to test it out. And so we kind of, go back and forth, and we review players and where they're at in their career and what they've done. And, we're very aware of who players are on different tours. And if the opportunity is right and they're a right fit for our business, because there's a lot of, different personalities out there. We want to make sure that anybody who we partner with is a fit with our business, and our business is a fit with their personality, their career. And so it's just finding the right, the right opportunity at the right time. And we don't push anything. So it's not like because, another direct consumer brand signs 5 influencers, we have to do that.
Yeah.
We're doing what works for us. If it works for them, great. We'll see.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think that's huge too. You got to do what works for you, and you can't just like bull rush and do what everybody else is doing and scramble as if that was the right thing and you missed it or you didn't think of it somehow. Like maybe you were on the right track. Maybe not shelling out $100,000 for an influencer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say kind of just like, taking a step back and really looking at it, what's the right decision for your business. I feel like that's a smart play, definitely.
Yeah, and I think too, like, when you look at the influencers that a lot of these brands have signed, so you look at like Callaway signing with Good and Garrett and Bubby, like those guys are great guys. Like I've talked to them before, and they work hard to do what they do. And they're definitely a way younger demographic. Like I think their demographic is between 15 to 22 on average. And so, these companies are baking that in and saying like, cool, we're going to pay millions of dollars for this now, because in 3 to 8 years, that's going to be our customer base. And one of the things that we find is our customer base is already much younger than the average retailer, the average OEM. And so, yeah, we want to encourage people to come and play our stuff. But to be honest, like they're going to come across our stuff when they're 22, 23, getting into the game, maybe getting their first set of clubs and being like, hey, Haywood Golf is like, 40% less expensive and they look good. So it's, for us, we kind of look at it as like, we're open to everybody. It's not just a certain demographic, certain age group. And so we don't necessarily see that value right now. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we're just staying in our lane and doing our thing.
For sure. I think it's kind of like every company has its own path, and it's a to each his own type of situation when it comes to marketing. Because you'll like obviously various brands have various levels of success with different styles, but I mean it kind of goes back to what do you see too when you're scrolling through your phone. And I mean one of the big things I think is like the like what you were putting out with the testing videos, like promoted posts and video posts that'll just kind of pop up and show you like what's going on and what's new and what's current. And that almost is more beneficial than shelling out a ton of money.
Right. I was gonna say if you can be savvy about it and do your own social media and your promotion that you guys are actually very good at, you know what I mean? You can kind of fill in that gap. You know what I mean? It's definitely necessary these days. Everyone's consuming content on the internet, on social media. It's definitely, necessary to have a presence there. But like we're saying, you can kind of do it yourself too, for sure.
Yeah, I think, and too, like a lot of it is organic. I mean, we ran a poll the other day, and it was like, how much influence do influencers actually have on your purchasing decisions? And it was like 75% none.
Right.
And so when you see that, right, like, yeah, of course it gets your brand in front of people 100%. It doesn't mean though that they're going to buy your clubs because that influencer, and it's a whole, there's a whole other conversation you could talk about for hours. But again, for us, like word of mouth, customer experience, customer reviews, seeing us in Forbes, which was like a little surreal last week, was awesome.
Super cool.
Those are all the things for us that are like, holy shit, like that just happened. So awesome. And then people come across us, and that's a completely different demographic than when we get covered in like Golf WRX or the Refuge on No Laying Up or wherever wherever people start talking about us. And so as long as we're aware of it and are able to interact with them directly, like we're on, different forums all over the internet, talking with people, and we find a lot of benefit in all of those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, just going back to having a presence on the internet, that's where everybody is. That's where you're gonna
like where the market's moving.
Yeah. Get your brand in front of everybody's faces. Love it.
100%.
Yeah.
So is there any other plans outside of the woods and the drivers that you may have for 2023, or any goals you may have for the company?
I mean, we always have goals and targets that we want to achieve, but for us this year, it's really just, the woods is a huge release. We've been working on it for so long that we just want to make sure that everything, goes off without a hitch. And we have a few more, like I said, putters in place, but we released our irons, like our CBMBs last year, so definitely nothing, in the works for those. Our signatures we're slowly working on for a new line, but we've tried to test a few different models, and nothing massive in terms of performance increase. So we're just kind of playing around with a few different materials and ideas now, and it could be another 8, 9 months, a year. And so yeah, like again, the woods thing will kind of allow us to really see what the market is dictating in terms of like, again, we've probably had 50 requests for a 7 wood,
Yeah.
which I never thought we would. And so like all of those things are kind of coming into play of like, now that we have the wood design done, especially in like the 3 wood, the hybrid, like all through that spectrum, we don't have to spend as much time on the next aspect. So if we want to create a 5 wood, it's a pretty easy transition. We still have to obviously do testing and make sure, because like even our 3 wood and hybrid, our 3 wood, we use 2 different materials. Our hybrid uses the same material for the body and face because that's what performed the best, even though we've tested all of it, right? So it's still testing to see which product performs the best. But in terms of like the actual design, it's going to reduce our time drastically. So, even if we sold out all of our woods in the first 2 months and said, cool, now we're going to add 5 wood, 7 wood, like we might be able to get one done by the end of the year or early into next year. It won't be, a year and a half, 2 years from now. And so that's kind of where we're playing by ear. Obviously, we have a lot of different product ideas and prototypes that we play around with to kind of see, but nothing that I can really speak to yet, other than the putters coming down the line.
Yeah, those are going to be super, super cool. Really excited to see those, the mid-mallet you were talking about. Would you ever see Haywood possibly hosting any events up in Vancouver or anything of that nature?
Yeah, we're doing that right now. We're working on it. We had a really cool idea for like a higher end. We've become acquainted with the owner of one of the owners of Sagebrush it's up to about 4 hours northeast of Vancouver, and it's really cool because it's very excluded out of like society in that sense. Like it's very remote, but they only allow 50 people per day.
Oh, wow.
And so like it's a very different experience than you would get on a normal golf course. So it's like the first thing you say to you get to the first tee, it's like, you want to hit 3 balls, hit 3 balls. You want to go play the 6th hole, go play the 6th hole. Don't hold anybody up. You want to play the hole 3 times over, go ahead. There's lunch at the 12th hole. They have like a halfway house, and it's just a cool experience, but logistically a little harder. So we might host something a little easier to put together here in Vancouver this year, but we're definitely going to do something. It's just trying to figure out when and where. And, we really want to bring a group of people together, especially like not only our customer base, but their friends, their family, and really just have like a fun event.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think events are also another one of those like super good ways to market your brand and kind of get other people involved that might not even golf, for example. Like for example, if let's say a group of guys go out and all their wives are hanging out at the clubhouse or something, and they see all the merch or some of the accessories or even just gift ideas for upcoming birthdays or holidays, it's a good way to get everybody involved, and vice versa too. So it's pretty cool.
As I say, in-person events, I feel like build, brand super strong. You know what I mean? You bring people out, they come to your event. People who didn't know about Haywood, they come to your tournament or whatever it is, you know what I mean? They come to your event, and they're going to remember it for sure. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're again, this is kind of now that we're a little bit more established and kind of have our, feet on the ground a bit more, we can, start planning these kind of things and having more direct interaction with people in person.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you so much
I
for
really appreciate the time.
hopping on. We had a blast getting to learn a little bit more about Haywood and hear about the mid-mallet putter coming out, the hybrid, the wood, the driver, the testing. super cool to hear how it matched up against all the big OEMs, and just excited. And we're definitely gonna have to purchase one when they drop and get one in hand and take some swings and see what we think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was really
play.
Really cool to hear, the story behind the, all the development and 2 to 3 years of learning and, developing and tinkering with things. So definitely gave a really good backstory to it. And like I said, kind of wanted to highlight, put a face to a brand, kind of like we said before. And yeah, I think this was great conversation.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you both having me on, and always love chatting golf. So it's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Like I said, really thanks again.
Yeah, thanks again, Josh.
Appreciate
All right, man.
it.
All right,
cheers, guys.
Easy.